All right, folks, I think we're going to get started. Firstly, before we get kicked off here, I just want to confirm that everybody can hear me okay. Can you all type in the chat window? Just let me know that you can hear me all right. Great, awesome. Looks like y'all can hear me. That's good. I always like to check that before I get off on my spiel here. So first, very first thing I want to touch on right out of the gate, this webinar is being recorded. So I've already gotten a couple questions in the questions window about if there will be a recording available. Absolutely, it is being recorded. Orange Blade will have a copy of this webinar that they can send you after the fact. So if you want to watch it later or share with your coworkers, you can absolutely do that. So cool. Then let's go ahead and get started here. As y'all know, yesterday was launch day for Revu 2018. So we're very excited to have a new release and better than ever version of Bluebeam Revu. And I'm happy to go over the new version with you today. And we're going to be mostly touching on the differences between this new release versus the previous release, 2017. So first of all, before we dive into the presentation, to introduce myself, my name is Steve Jones. I am the channel sales manager here at Bluebeam. So my role is managing our channel sales team, which works with our network of reseller partners, of which Orange Blade is actually a platinum status partner, which is the highest status of partnership that you can possibly achieve with us. So they're a fantastic partner of ours. They have many trained and certified folks on staff. So really happy to be joining them today to present what's new in Revu 2018. Now the agenda for today, we're going to be just running through a few slides here, just hitting on Revu as a product, Bluebeam as a company, and just who we are and what we do. But the bulk of our time is going to be live demonstration in the actual software. And then even though we are booked for an hour, I don't expect the presentation to take the whole hour. We are going to have a healthy amount of time at the end for some QA. So if you want to throw some questions in the questions window, I'd be happy to answer as many of those live on the air as I can. So with that, let's move along here. A little bit about us, about Bluebeam as a company. So Bluebeam was founded back in 2002. So we've been around for about 16 years now. We're headquartered in Pasadena, California, but we do have offices in lots of other locations such as San Diego, Chicago, New Hampshire, London, Stockholm, and Australia as well. And what we do at a high level is we are all about the AEC industry. So we enable customers in the AEC space to work more efficiently, to get their job done easier, quicker, and at a lower cost. And we really push the boundaries of innovation and develop simple and smart solutions geared towards those AEC professionals. So what we enable at sort of a macro level, we enable our customers to maximize their productivity, so they're able to do more in less time. We improve project predictability. The features in our software, such as profiles and tool sets, enable standardization and replication of best practices. So you can set up a workflow for one project team and standardize that workflow across your entire organization, which helps to improve that project predictability and ensure that that your projects are completed on time and on budget. Lastly, minimize risk. So in the AEC industry particularly, risk is definitely a concern on many customers' minds. You need to be able to track who said what and when, have good accountability for how folks interact with your documents and collaborate with one another. So we do help you to minimize that risk to your organization. So what does this mean for you in layman's term? It means that by increasing productivity, you're going to be able to increase your revenue because you're able to complete more jobs in a smaller space of time. Increasing your project predictability will help to lower your costs from overruns, and minimizing your risk is in itself always a good thing. Nobody wants to have risk to their organization. So how do we do it? I could talk about this all day, but to summarize into a single slide, we have best-in-class markup technology. Markups are one of the very first things that most people do when they first start using Bluebeam Revu. We truly have the best markups in the game. Improves collaboration, so that's both working with local files and utilizing our free cloud-hosted collaboration platform, Bluebeam Studio. So you can upload your documents into the cloud, collaborate on them real time, have tracking and visibility to exactly who does what, and you can even invite outside collaborators that don't even own Bluebeam Revu yet, and they could still participate in that collaboration process. Expediting workflows, so streamlining your tech data stack, centralizing that data and information. In today's kind of business landscape, particularly in AEC, a centralized data environment is huge. Bluebeam Studio enables you to do that, keep all your project documents in kind of one location, and help to minimize those information silos. Open platform and standards. So the fact that what we do is based upon the PDF file format means that it's an ISO standard accessible file format that just about anybody on the planet can access and view, whether they own Bluebeam or not. If you send somebody a PDF, they can open it on their phone. You don't need to worry about being locked into a proprietary ecosystem where only certain people can work with files if they own that software. PDF is accessible to everyone. And kind of tying it all together, easy adoption and scale. So Bluebeam Revu is a product that's pretty easy to pick up, particularly in the 2018 release with the interface change. It's far more user-friendly especially for newer users. Far more, I like to say, discoverable. It's much easier to discover all the features in there. And then also some of the things we do, like allowing export of markup tool sets and profiles and sharing with other users, helps you to scale across your organization and, again, standardize. Standardization is extremely helpful to your organization. It helps you to scale faster, ensure best practices. It makes it easier to train your users. It means less support tickets. It's just good across the board. So with that, I've been talking through a lot of slides here, and probably the 200 or so people on the line are hoping I can just get to the good stuff and start showing the software here. So we're going to get into Review 2018. And for anyone that maybe has not read about 2018 and just what it's all about, the biggest change with 2018 is an interface change. So we have totally revamped the interface to be far more user-friendly, both to the power users and to the new users, far more intuitive, and as I said, more discoverable. It's easier to discover all the features that are in the product. Now, some of the things that this interface change allows is getting to the right tools at the right time. The new dynamic properties toolbar, which I'll show you very quickly here, allows you to get to some of the property settings for whatever you happen to be doing at the time far easier than you used to. You can get to the tools you need in fewer clicks, which is what we're all about, less clicks. Getting your work done faster. So the side panels are far easier to navigate. It's far easier to get to the different tools that you need. Studio has seen a huge advancements in terms of the interface and how user friendly it is to operate within Studio. Custom keyboard shortcuts, this is huge. If you look at all of the customer requests we've gotten for features, custom keyboard shortcuts was the #1 feature request of all time, not just last year, but ever in our 16-year history. Custom keyboard shortcuts was #1, and that has happened in 2018. So you can create your own custom keyboard shortcuts. And lastly, getting up to speed faster. So we do have an in-app onboarding experience for users that first jump into Revu 2018. They are going to have immediately accessible to them demo documents that they can use to practice and test features. There's going to be in-app videos giving tutorials on how to use Revu for different workflows. And even beyond what we're offering at launch, we're going to continue offering new content in that in-app onboarding experience. We want it to be as easy and user-friendly for your users that are jumping into Revu 2018 as we can possibly make it. Okay, so as I said, we're going to go on to the good stuff. We're going to go into the live demonstration here. Like I said, the biggest difference between the different versions has been an interface change. So I figured what better way to talk about interface changes than to literally put them side by side. So what I have here is on the left side of my screen, I have Revu 2017. And on the right side of my screen, I have Revu 2018. So I have both of them open side by side. We're looking at the exact same drawing in each, and we're just going to kind of go over some of the differences here between the two. So first of all, if you look at just sort of screen real estate, there's definitely more screen real estate in 2018 here. You'll notice that this menu bar along the top of 2017 with all these different icons on here, you don't have it on 2018. So it's much more slim, condensed. I have a lot more screen real estate. And instead, in 2018, you've got these menus along the top here. So this means a much more clean interface. It's not as cluttered, not as many icons going on. And also going back to, and sorry to keep beating on this dead horse, making it more discoverable. It's much easier to discover all these features when they're right here in the menu, and you can just take a look at them. I want to share with you all kind of a funny anecdote from the beta testing of Revu 2018. We had a beta tester, and I won't throw any names out there, but we had one of the beta testers for Revu 2018 was a customer that had been using Revu for years and was a power user of Revu, and he was beta testing Revu 2018. And one of the pieces of feedback that he gave us was, hey, I really love that new batch OCR feature. That's a really cool feature. It's great that you added that in the product. So if we go to batch OCR, this is the one he was talking about. So yeah, he said, I really love that new feature in 2018. I'm so glad that you added it. It's going to be so helpful for me. Well, funny story, the batch OCR feature has been there for years. It's not a new feature. It's been there for a long time. But the thing was, it was buried so far in the interface in the previous old version that he just never had found it before. He had no idea that it even existed. And just the interface change in 2018, the way that you can literally just click on batch and see every single batch operation right there, made it far easier to discover stuff like that. So I think for a lot of the users on the phone that have been with us for years, you're going to have the same experience. You're going to discover all kinds of new features you had no idea even existed. All right, so moving along here, something else I want to hit on is the difference in sort of the side panels in 2018 versus in 2017. So in 2017, on the left-hand side, we had these blue pull tabs. So you could use these blue pull tabs, excuse me, these blue pull tabs to open up the side panels or to show you the markups list in the bottom there. And one of the tricky things with this is that with these pull tabs, you then had these different tabs that you kind of had to cycle between and find what you were looking for. It wasn't always the most sort of user-friendly experience. So what we've done with 2018 is that now you have these cool icons along the side here of the different tabs that you can just kind of click on and pop out. We also no longer have the blue pull tabs. If I hover over the boundary of this panel, you'll see the blue line light up. So I can, just like before, click and drag and expand this. If I just want to collapse it real quick, I can double click on that and collapse it as well. So a little just cleaner interface. It's easier to find these different tabs that you're looking for. Something else I want to point out is that in the old version on the left, we had this tab access. It was this orange upside down arrow where you could view the different tabs that you need. In the new interface, we have the tabs here along the side. If you want to toggle different ones on and off, you just right click and you can choose which ones you want to show. So maybe I'm doing a lot of form fields. I can just toggle on my forms and there they are right there. If I change my mind and decide, you know what, I never use those form tools, I just want to get them out of the way, I can hide those as well. So in my opinion, definitely a much kind of cleaner, easier to use experience. With the markups list too, something else that's really cool to make the markups list easier to access is, again, on the left-hand side, 2017, you had to open up this panel at the bottom to view the markups list. You would be surprised. A lot of folks didn't even realize the markups list even existed, just because it wasn't the most sort of obvious thing to find. Well, in the new version, on the right-hand side, we actually have this little button right here for markups, and you can just click on that and immediately pop open that markups list. So it just kind of makes it a little more obvious and a little easier to find that markups list there. Awesome. So profiles. Let's talk a little bit about profiles. In the old version, under the View menu, you had profiles. You could select these different ones. Sorry, Steve's amazing profile is not included with the review. That's one of my own custom ones. I can assure you, it's not all that amazing. But we have all these different profiles that you can select in 2017. You have the same in 2018 on the right. It just lives in a little different place here. So we have this review menu in the top left, and here we go right here, profiles. So similar thing, you just access it in a different way. For anybody that's not familiar with profiles, what profiles does is it allows you to customize the interface of review to your specific needs for what you're doing. So you can toggle on all the tools that you need, toggle off all the stuff you don't care about, and then you can save it in a custom profile. These custom profiles can then be shared across your organization if you want to share them with other teams or standardize your users on specific profiles. This allows you to do so. So still have profiles in 2018, just a little different way of interacting with them. Now, the next thing I'm going to jump into that is a substantial difference in 2018 is what's called the Properties toolbar. So this right here, and actually let me just expand 2018 so we just get a little more screen real estate. So this right here, you can see how just looking at the raw kind of PDF file without anything selected, excuse me, I can open up this Properties toolbar to see information about the file there. Now watch what happens with this properties toolbar whenever I select a markup. So I'll select this cloud down here. Notice how it changed. I have all this new stuff all of a sudden at the top here. And I can just kind of select this drop down and change the subject of the markup, switch which layer it's on if I have layers set up. And I can adjust the visual properties of this markup just on the fly right here within the properties toolbar. So I'm going to just change it to an obnoxious neon green there. So let's zoom in a little bit. Oh, my mouse wheel is acting up. There we go. Zoom in a little bit. We can see how we're changing this. Let's change the line width there. So again, and if I unselect it, you'll notice the properties toolbar change. Let's select it again. Now I have all this stuff here. What this means is that particularly modifying the visual properties of your markups is way easier than it used to be. So let's jump into 2017 and let's do the same thing and look at how it used to operate. So again, I'll just expand this to the full screen. Let's look at the exact same markup. So in 2017, the way that I'm going to have to do this is I'll have to pop open this properties panel. Well, first pop open the side panel, go over to properties, and then here is where I can modify some of the visual properties. So again, it's not terribly difficult, but the tricky thing is that particularly if you're a new user and you don't specifically know to dive into these side panels to find this properties menu, it's just not the most user-friendly experience. And regardless, it's still taking you several extra clicks. So the 2018 model, where you have all this at your fingertips right at the top, as soon as you select a markup, is definitely a lot easier to work with. All right, so properties toolbar, really awesome addition in 2018. Big fan of that. So, excuse me, talking about some of these side panels here. So going back to the side panels, I'll dive into the tool chest here. And again, notice how I can just select on any of these panels very quickly to cycle between thumbnails versus tool chest versus layers and so on and so forth. It makes it very easy to switch between these. But jumping into my tool chest here, something that I want to point out right off the bat, and this applies to any of the side panels, not just tool chest. You've got this cool little slider here. And this slider allows me to change the size of my icons. So if I want really big icons, I can have that. If I want small icons, I can have that. I can do the same thing with my thumbnails there. So much more flexibility as to how these icons appear. You can adjust them on your personal preference, and also just to factor in maybe the size of display you're working on, or you know, how good your eyesight is, or whatever. You can adjust the slider to whatever you would like the icon size to be. Also looking at the tool chest, something else that's pretty neat here is we have this little handy drop down on tool chest, and it allows me to toggle these different tool sets off and on very easily here. So let's say that I'm not using my general measurements. I can just toggle that off. Maybe I'm not using engineer review, this one, etc. Or, you know, vice versa. I can toggle these tools on based off of what my specific needs are. So it's just a lot easier to toggle tool sets than it used to be, just in this handy little drop down. Now, going into, let's talk about the markups list. So again, remember there's this little neat icon down in the bottom left corner here. I can click on that and pop open this markups list, and we have some enhancements to the markups list as well. So just like the tool chest, we have a cool little drop down here, and this one allows me to toggle my columns. I can import markups if I want to bring in markups from somebody else's PDF on there, or export them, and creating a capture summary as well. I can do all this right from this drop-down menu. So maybe let's change some of the columns here. Maybe I don't care about my color at all, and I'm not using spaces. I can toggle that off. But maybe I'm doing lots of area measurements, so I can toggle that one on right there. And just like before, I can click and drag and change the order of these columns however I so choose, and adjust the column width just like I did beforehand. So something else that I want to point out that's really neat is this hide markups button. So if I'm looking at my my drawing here and I just want to hide all my markups with one click, I can just click on that and it just hides all of them in one shot. And I can just click it again to bring all those markups back. So really handy if you just want to take a look at the drawing without all your markups there for a little bit. So other things that I want to point out is filters. So just like before, you can filter by any of these columns here. So maybe I want to filter down to only my engineer comments. I can filter like that just like before. If we look at the drawing, you'll notice that my markups that I've filtered out are sort of grayed out to make them less visible, whereas my engineer comments are still in color, so they kind of pop out at you. So still have that really cool filtering functionality. Just like before, you can export a summary, but we've seen some enhancements on the summary as well. So something pretty cool here is right from the markups list summary, I can add additional files or additional folders of files. So maybe I want to do a summary, not just of this one PDF, but an entire folder of PDFs. I can easily do that right from this menu there. Other things that are really cool here is before I export it, I can toggle off and on my columns that I want displayed on that export. So very easy to customize this. I can apply filters before I do my export, and then I have some additional functionality in terms of defining my output, what file format it's output as, where it goes, and so on and so forth. So just a more robust experience when you're doing an export of the markups list than what you had previously before in 2017. So with that, I'm gonna pause just for a beat and make sure that I'm not getting any chat messages saying I can't hear anything you're saying, or I can't see your screen or anything like that. It looks like we're doing all right. So I'm gonna keep going, just making sure I'm not talking to folks that can't hear me. Okay, so let's move along and let's talk about Studio. So Studio is another feature that saw, or another aspect of the software that saw a real big revamp with the latest release. So to illustrate that, let's look at 2017 first. So I've jumped back to review 2017, and let's look at Studio in the side panel here. So I'm going to go ahead and log into Studio. And so I've got some of my Studio sessions and projects. Let's jump into a project here. So before jumping into projects, you have a folder structure here, but if I'm kind of digging around for one specific drawing, it wasn't really the most intuitive experience to kind of have to click through all these different subfolders and maybe hunt for, the one thing that I needed. Something else that was kind of tricky was adding new files or adding new folders of files. I could not just kind of drag and drop files into here. If I wanted to add another file to this, I had to right click on it and upload my file or upload my folder. Not a terribly cumbersome process. It's pretty straightforward, but again, it's not quite as easy as we would like it to be. So let's look at 2018 by comparison. And sorry, my go-to meeting window is blocking my screen here. Let me fix that. All right. So back in 2018 here, I have my studio panel that I just clicked on right here. And first off, you've got these handy little toggles, so you can toggle between projects and sessions. So here's all my sessions, here's all my projects. You can also apply filters if you only want to see your projects that you created, or if you want to see only ones that other people created that you attended, or if you just want to see everything, you can filter that down. If you want to create a new session or project, you just do this plus sign, and then you can create a new one. Or if you have a session or project ID that somebody provided you, you can join an existing one right there just with this plus sign. Now, I filtered it down to just my specific projects, and let's open one of those up and let's take a look at it. So what it did here is now whenever I open a project, it's going to open it as a new window here. Let me just close this PDF here so we get more screen real estate. So what we've got here now is you've got sort of a folder structure like before, and I can expand this out and view the folder structure. I can also click through the folders here. So if I want to go into my plan set and view all these files here, I can easily do that. Maybe I want to open the site plan. I can just double click on that right there and view this site plan. If I want to check it out, if I click this little handy lock there, I can check it out. And also I can view any sort of revision history as well. So just a little easier to navigate around here. Something else that's really cool that I want to point out here is for those of you in the audience that are generally working with more than one studio project at a time, guess what? You can actually have more than one project open at a time. So I'm in this What's New webinar project. I'm going to double click on this test project. And what's going to happen is it's just going to open it in another tab. So now I can have two projects going at the same time if I want to. Whereas before in 2017, you could only be in one project at a time. When you switched between projects, you had to log out of one and then log into the other one. So being able to have multiple going at the same time, super helpful, a lot more user-friendly. Something else that I want to point out is that in addition to adding files and folders just like before, I can also drag and drop. So if, for example, I wanted to snag a PDF, let's see here. Let me grab a good PDF. This is probably something I should have had prepared ahead of time. Sorry about that. Let's see if I have one on my desktop. Here we go. Here's a good one. We're going to do our phone routing matrix. Here's a PDF. I'm going to click and drag, and I just dropped that into my project. And there's that phone routing matrix right there. If I want to delete that, I can just right click and go ahead and delete that. So very easy to just drag files over into a project, a lot more user friendly than it was. Okay, and let's look a little bit at sessions too. Let's close this project. Let's switch over to sessions. So I have let's do this demo session. We'll dive in there, and we're going to open this this site plan there. Actually, you know what? That's maybe not a good example. Let's do one with more markups on there. How about this one? Yeah, there we go. That's better. So the interface is a little bit different with sessions. First of all, one of the things that's a little easier to do is right from the invite screen. Or excuse me, I think I clicked on the wrong thing. Here we go. So attendee access, you have this attendee access button right there, which makes it very easy to select the different attendees that you've invited, and then lock them out or change their permissions if you need to do that. Something else that's really cool here is you have this filter right here where you can filter in the log about specific activity in this log. So maybe I want to filter out my chats. I can toggle those, or maybe I just want to see only markups. I can filter it down to only markups there. So if you have a lot of activity in a session, makes it just a little more easy to filter down to what you need. We also have this handy button there about generating a report. So if you want to create a summary report of all the activity that transpired in this session, you can just click that button. This was something that was in the old version too. It just was a little more hidden, not as easy to access. So now it's just a little easier to find. All right, so from here, I kind of want to switch gears. Let's get into custom keyboard shortcuts. Like I said before, this is the most requested feature of all time is keyboard shortcuts. So let's open up that floor plan again, and let's look at keyboard shortcuts. So the way that we're gonna look at these is in the review menu. We're gonna go to keyboard shortcuts. And right here, you can see all of the shortcuts that have already been assigned here, or in some cases have not. The ones that are blank have not been assigned. And you can assign shortcuts to tools. So these are all tools, or to commands as well. So things like creating a PDF, or printing, or cutting, copying, etc. You can change commands too. So let's go ahead and change one of these keyboard shortcuts. And for that, let's maybe find my Cloud Plus. Let's do that. Okay. So Cloud Plus, you can see, is currently assigned to K. So let's say that I want to change that to C instead. The way that I'm going to do that is just go down here to shortcut, and I'm going to, oh, actually, there you go. I accidentally hit my Windows key, but this is a good example where it says shortcut reserved. What this means is that this particular keyboard shortcut is already reserved to a Windows command. So there's certain keys that it will not allow you to map keyboard shortcuts to, just because that one's already taken by Windows. So this is a good example. But let me switch over to C instead. And what it's going to tell me is, hey, C is already currently assigned to Cloud. Now, if I just want to override that and make C my shortcut for this and just remove C from Cloud, all I have to do is just reassign. You'll notice now that Cloud Plus is now reassigned to C. Cloud now has, there's no hotkey assigned to it. So now if I wanted to go and change my Cloud to K, I can do that right there. So very easy and straightforward to change your hotkeys. And just like many other things in Review, you can export them. So if you want to customize your keyboard shortcuts and export them to other users and share them, you can absolutely do that. And conversely, if other folks have shared them with you and you want to import them, you could do that. If you've decided you just want to go back to defaults, there's your defaults right there. You can restore defaults. So really super helpful functionality for anybody out there that's used keyboard shortcuts in the past and maybe wanted to create their own shortcuts and previously not been able to. The next thing that I want to hit on is the in-app onboarding. So anytime somebody opens up Revu 2018 for the very first time, they're actually going to see this Welcome to Revu screen. And I'll go ahead and open that up here. And what this has is, first of all, a very quick little intro video going over Revu at a high level. You've got a sample floor plan that's just included with the software. And it's literally the floor plan that I was just showing you guys. You'll have this in the software too if you want to test it out and tinker around. We've got a whole bunch of really awesome tutorials on different workflows here. So markup tools, quantity takeoff, working with Studio, document management, drawing management, field issues. And these are all the ones we have available at launch, but the plan is over time to add more onboarding materials that'll be right here in the software for you to use. So really handy for new users to kind of dip their toes in the water and see what it's capable of. Also, right here, if you're a previous Revu user and you had custom tools and profiles from the old version, you can click right here and it will oh, there you go. Yeah, so it says load your custom tools from Revu profiles menu. So that just prompts you here to go into profiles and load your tools in there. So yeah, really good kind of onboarding experience for new users to help get them off and running a little more quickly. So the last thing that I think I'm going to hit on before we open up the floor for a little Q&A is the new view mode. So for anybody that's not familiar with our free version in the past, so previously we had a product called View, VU, which is just our free viewer. So this just basically allows people to open up and view PDFs, but it also gave them access to Bluebeam Studio, where they could join an existing session or project and have markup capabilities in that studio environment and kind of participate in the dialogue. So that's something that we had before. But one of the things that we found is that for our customers that were on the open licensing model of Revu, where they have sort of the concurrent user subscription, the feedback that we got from a lot of them is, hey, we don't want folks to have to check out one of their licenses every single time they just open up a PDF and they're just looking at it. So they wanted a way to kind of toggle to a view-only mode where they're not kind of sucking up one of their licenses. So what we did is we essentially, we got rid of having the free viewer as a totally separate product, and we baked it right into Revu. So if you go to Revu and you see right here, you can switch to view mode. And this basically converts it over to view mode, where it's essentially viewing only. You're not going to have any of the markup capabilities. But if I was one of those customers on an open license, now I'm no longer taking up one of those open licenses. I can view PDFs without having one checked out. Now, if I am doing some things and I need my markups back, I can just switch back over to markup mode and have all my markup tools ready to rock. So very helpful for those open licensing customers out there in the world. All right, folks, I think that's the end of the presentation there. So we're going to have a little time for questions. I want to just kind of wrap things up here. First of all, with thanking our platinum partner, Orangeblade. So for any folks that are watching this webinar live or watching a recording later, if you're interested in Revu 2018, if you need a 30-day trial, or you have any other questions or needs, you have the contact information for Orangeblade right here on the screen. You can check out their website. It's orangeblade.com. They're an awesome partner, very highly trained staff, and they can help you with any sort of needs you may have. So definitely feel free to reach out to them. So with that, I'm going to dive into the Q&A window and answer as many questions as I can live on the air here. So bear with me one moment. I'm going to dig through the questions window and see what sort of questions we have. So we had quite a few questions about whether this webinar was recorded. Yes, it was recorded. So Orange Blade will have a copy that they can send you afterwards. Okay. Sorry, folks, just reading through some of the questions. Here we go. Here's a question about OCR. So the question is, I have Review Standard. Is OCR available in Review Standard? So OCR stands for Optical Character Recognition. And what that is it's a feature that allows you to take like a scanned in PDF, like let's say you had a paper PDF and you scan it in and you want to make that text selectable and searchable. That's what OCR allows. So to answer your question, OCR is not available in Review Standard. It is a feature that's only in Review Extreme. So you do need the Review Extreme version to use that. If you would like to upgrade to Review Extreme, you can do an upgrade at a reduced cost versus buying a whole new license. So Orange Blade can set you up with that. Just reach out to them. They can get you squared away. Oh, here's another good question. Can you apply multiple filters to markups in the markups list? That's a great question. The answer is yes, absolutely. So let's look at how you do that. So again, just jumping to the drawing here and going into the markups list, we have these filters that we can toggle on here. Excuse me. You'll notice that there's filters for each individual column here. So yes, you can absolutely apply multiple filters. So I could apply a filter at the subject level to only architect comments, and then I could apply another filter here. Let's maybe do a different column that we can use here. Let's use colors, maybe not a good example. Let's do check mark. So I could have, maybe a few of these checked and then apply another filter here to only things that have been checked. So yes, absolutely, you can have multiple filters on the markups list at the same time. That's not a problem. Great question. Here's another good question. Will profiles be able to save default colors and such for markups? For example, have a submittal profile where your default colors are green and an RFI profile where the default is red. Now, the short answer is no. However, I do have a different recommendation for you. So when we're talking about default colors, what that means is that so if you look on the right-hand side here, I have this cloud tool. Actually, before I do this, let me toggle off my filters. I have this cloud tool, and if I just snag this cloud tool and throw a cloud on there, it's going to default to whatever my default settings are, which right now it's just a red cloud. Now, I can override this and make it where by default my clouds are green or yellow or so on. But the defaults are not saved at the profile level. It's the default for your installation of the software. So that it's not possible to do different defaults by profile, But however, you can absolutely have different tools, different colored markup tools saved in your tool chest, just like this. So I've got an engineer blue cloud and a contractor yellow cloud. You can absolutely have these saved, and then you can have only specific tool sets toggled on in specific profiles. So you can make it where in one profile you only see your contractor tools with the yellow markups, and in another profile you only see your engineer tools with the blue markups. So I think that still accomplishes what you're looking to do. It's just a slightly different way of going about it. Great question here. That one of the questions about studio projects. Can you directly copy or move a file from one studio project to another studio project? The answer to that today is unfortunately not. So if you are moving from one project to another, what you would need to do is save a local copy, and then you could just drag that into your other project and have it loaded into your other project. Another really good question: how do we upgrade to the new version? So if you are a customer that has active current maintenance, then one of the benefits of having annual maintenance is that you do get the free upgrades to the latest and greatest version. So if you do have maintenance on your license, there is a self-upgrade portal right on our website. And this is it right here. So licensing.bluebeam.com/upgrade. If you go here and put in your license information in your email, you can actually self-upgrade your license to the 2018 version and get access to that as long as you have active maintenance. Now, if you do not have active maintenance, if you're on an older version, you can still get upgraded, but you would need to purchase an upgrade in order to do that. So if you're looking to buy an upgrade or you need quotes for upgrades, just reach out to Orange Blade. They can get you squared away there. There's a question about Revu iPad. Are there any changes to the Revu iPad product? Not with this release yesterday. So Revu iPad, you can actually think of it as a completely separate product from the full version of Revu for Windows or Revu for Mac. So it's a separate product. It's available in the Apple App Store for $9.99. It's not intended to be a replacement for the full version of Revu. I really describe it as more of it's a companion product. So it is really, really awesome, especially for less than $10 to use on an iPad out in the field, but not a replacement for the full-blown version of Revu. There's a question here about dynamic fill. One of the attendees was saying that he started to use dynamic fill, which was a new feature last year, and was looking for a little bit of help in how to use that. I would encourage you to reach out to Orange Blade. They're really great. They can absolutely help you with training on how to use that. I would reach out to them. They can make sure that they set you up in how to use that feature there. There's a question here about, is switching to view mode the same as unregistering the license? Not quite. It's similar in the sense that if you have an open license, it will check the license back in and you won't be using it anymore. But it's not unregistering per se. So you can kind of switch back and forth between view mode and markup mode, depending on whether you need the license or not. So it's not quite the same as unregistering it, but it accomplishes more or less the same goal, and it's a lot more user-friendly than having to unregister your license. Here's another question about, can a user have both Revu 2017 and Revu 2018 on your computer? Absolutely, yes. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now. I have, this is 2018 right here, and this is 2017 right here. So I have them installed simultaneously. There's nothing, nothing tricky I'm doing here. Whatever you install Revu 2018, it will prompt you with the option of doing a parallel install and having both of them at once, or doing a completely, fresh install of 2018 and removing 2017. So you have the flexibility of going either way. I personally, I think 2018 is a lot better experience. So I would encourage you to make the jump to 2018. But if you want to kind of dip your toes in the water and have both, so you can test things out between the two, you can absolutely do that. There's a question about what is the cost for Revu 2018? So if you go to Orange Blade's website, they have some pricing information on their website. You can also reach out to the Orange Blade folks, and they'd be happy to help you with any sort of pricing quotations. Oh, here's a really good question. If we are running Studio on a project that was created in Revu 2018, does everybody in the project have to have 2018, or can they still access in 2017? It's a great question. The answer is they can still access it in 2017. So you can have some users in there that are on 2018, some that are on 2017. That's not a problem. The only difference is they're just going to see a different interface. So in terms of like the way that the folder structure appears, the folks that are accessing it in 2018 are going to have this new kind of interface, whereas the ones that are accessing it in 2017 are going to be on the old interface. But in terms of just accessibility, usability, you can do it in both versions. It's not a problem. Do users need licenses in order to join Studio projects? No, they don't. So you do need a license to create a project, but if you're joining an existing one, you can do so with just, if you just go into the view mode, and even if you don't have a license, if you're in an existing project, you'll have full markup capabilities just as if you own the product. So great stuff. Really good questions. We have a whole bunch more questions. Unfortunately, we're at the end of the hour. I don't have enough time to answer them, but I really appreciate everyone's time today, and hopefully this was helpful for you, and you're as excited about 2018 as I am. Again, just kind of want to thank our Platinum partner, Orange Blade. If you have any questions, needs, anything after this webinar, feel free to reach out to them. Their information's right on the screen. We'll make sure they have a recording, and they can get you a recording as well. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks so much for your time.